Hi everyone, it's Dixon here, and today I'm going to be providing you with a long-term review of the Sonos Beam. I've had this for over 6 months now, and the question is this the right soundbar for you? Let's find out in my review. Let's start with the design of the Sonos Beam. I'm personally a big fan. It's very minimalist, it's very simple, and of course it's far more compact than the likes of the Sonos Arc. It just has the grille wrapped around the front and the side of the device, which is where the sound comes from, with the Sonos logo in the front center, and then across the very top of the device you'll see it just kind of dips in slightly, which leads you nicely into the different buttons available. That leads me nicely onto the controls. So in the very middle you'll see that we have the play/pause button, and then either side of that we have these little 4 squares. So tapping on these will either increase or decrease the volume, and if you're listening to music you can swipe from left to right to skip a track forwards, or from right to left to skip a track backwards. And you'll see we have the microphone just at the top, and if the light is illuminated the microphone is active. If it is not illuminated then of course the microphone is off. Let's talk about connectivity. So when we look at the back of the device, you'll see that we just have 4 different options available. So we have the power port on the back, and then we have this button with the swirly line on it. That's used for pairing your Sonos Beam. Next to that we have the Ethernet port, so you can hardwire your internet connection to Sonos, and also we have an HDMI port. So the good news is that the Sonos Beam does support HDMI ARC, and the good news is that you can use your TV remote to turn the volume up or down on your Sonos speaker. A couple of other points regarding connectivity is that the Sonos Beam, while it'll be able to play back via your TV because it's hardwired in via HDMI with no issues, for other services like your Spotify or Apple Music or TuneIn Radio, it does require an internet connection. So for the most of us that will be Wi-Fi, which I've had absolutely no issues with, or of course you can hardwire it into the Ethernet port at the back, but that connection is required for those services to work properly and connect with the Sonos app itself. It doesn't support Bluetooth pairing, so you won't be able to pair your mobile device or anything else to it. It just has a low power Bluetooth connection, which is purely used for that initial setup process. So let's go ahead and talk about sound, the most important thing that you'll want to know when it comes to the Sonos Beam. So one of the benefits of the Sonos Beam is that it can be used for your TV as well as playing music, which is a huge plus. So we'll start with the TV experience. The Sonos Beam itself, it's designed to emit sound so that it kind of bounces off the walls, or beams off the walls so to speak, hence the name. And I've actually been very impressed with how it does so. When I'm watching things like movies and there's explosions and stuff, I do feel that it really fills the room with great sound, and also kind of makes things sound like they're coming from different directions, which I wasn't expecting to see quite so much of. When it comes to things like vocals, they are very crisp, very clear, and it's not going to be drowned out by background sound. So whether that be the background music of a movie or other noises occurring on scene. When it comes to music, I'm more a fan of the warmer sound. So when you've got punchier bass as an example, the bass on this is good, but it doesn't quite have the same depth as something like my now discontinued Play 3 speaker. But that's not to say that it doesn't give good bass and the overall sound isn't great, because it really is. Music sounds great in my living room. You'll have no disappointment when you're listening to it. In terms of filling the room, which I've just mentioned, so Sonos do kind of cater this for the slightly smaller living room space or office space, wherever it is that you put the speaker. I do have a large living room, but the walls perhaps are a bit closer together than some other setups. So just something to bear in mind, that if you do have a very, very large space, you may find that it doesn't quite have the same impact as it will in a smaller room. Another huge plus with the Sonos Beam is that it does offer Trueplay. So Trueplay is a setting which you can turn on, and basically you can hold up your mobile phone and it will emit a high frequency sound as you're sort of walking around the room. And the idea is that the Sonos Beam learns the setup of your room, so kind of where walls are and how the acoustics work, and it optimizes the sound automatically in your Sonos Beam for playback. Let's talk about the assistants. So we have two options. We have the Google Assistant, which is what I've been using, or you have Alexa. So I have a couple of Google speakers set up so I can connect to that ecosystem, and I have smart plugs so I can turn my lights on and off, that sort of thing. So it all works seamlessly. I've had no issues. Once you set it up, it's ready to go. And a nice little touch is that if you're watching TV, watching a movie or listening to music, it does dim the sound ever so slightly, which means you don't have to shout across loud music, which is always going to be a plus. But then on the flip side, one little nuance that I've experienced is that actually when you're speaking to Google, it will maintain the same volume as how you've got it on your TV. So if you're watching a movie, you've got it quite loud, Google will shout at me and it's incredibly loud, and I'm sure the neighbours probably get quite annoyed, to be honest. I also want to quickly talk about the app, not give a full review or anything, but the app of course is very important. So in the Sonos app, when you're on the home page, you'll be presented with your favourites and what you've recently been listening to. You can also then press in the middle icon and that will bring up the different Sonos speakers you have available in your ecosystem. You can see that I have 3 set up, 2 in the living room. I have my living room TV and another one for my home office. The beauty is you can just press on each speaker and then you go ahead and search for the music that you want to play on it. You can group these together, so if you want to have the same music playing from all of your devices, you can do so in the app. In terms of services that it supports, it offers Apple Music, Spotify, TuneIn, Sonos Radio, and many others that I haven't even used before. So it offers an extensive range. And the Sonos app in general, it all looks very slick. It behaves how it should do, and I think it's pretty intuitive to use. You can also adjust the different levels, of course, for the Sonos Beam. So if, like me, you prefer a slightly warmer sound, as an example, you can just drag the slider for the bass setting, but also you have the other options available so that you can get it set up according to your own taste. So overall, I've been incredibly impressed with my Sonos Beam. I've loved having it. It's been great fun to have this during the lockdown, especially so when I'm watching movies and everything else. And I would say that in terms of who's this for, I would say it will be for the majority of us. Unless you've got an absolutely huge living room, you're not going to feel like the sound is not filling up that room with the great sound that it offers, both for music and for your TV experience. I strongly recommend looking into buying this if you're looking for a fantastic product which offers great sound for both your TV and music built all in one package. So that's my thoughts after 6 months. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Happy to answer them. I hope you found this useful. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon.